All right, Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2.
Wonder, I said I wonder, is someone taking over under the golden dome?
All right. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We got a lot to go over in a short amount of time. Let's get into it now. Trump nuclear proposal allows Iran to enrich uranium. So again, there's been a very big back and forth and especially a huge debate. They said, hey, if we tell Iran that they can't enrich anything, then they are going to have a problem. There will be no peace deal. But if they can enrich for nuclear power, but not for nuclear weapons, there's something there, right? Well, the U.S. will allow Iran to enrich uranium at a low level for a predetermined amount of time as part of a nuclear deal, according to the proposal passed to Iran from the Trump administration. The report could reassure advocates of a deal, given Iran's insistence that it retain the right to enrich uranium at some level. Now, a lot of people said that the U.S. were quite hypocritical because, you know, the president just ended up saying a bunch about how we are going to be adding all of these nuclear power plants to be powering our, you know, technological advancement. At the same time as telling them they can't have that, right? Well, now they are saying that this is very possible. So again, this is a good thing for people that are saying, hey, this is a great peace deal. But again, as they're doing peace talks with Russia and Ukraine, they just hit them with what they are calling a Russian Pearl Harbor. So peace deals, to me, just like Japan, when we were in peace deals with them and they hit us, don't really tell much to anything for me. We'll talk about this and much, much more when we come back. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
The flag above you, is it the same one you think you wonder? I said I wonder, is someone taking over under the golden dome?
All right, what is going on, guys? Hey, nice to see you, Sherry D, Belinda, Mustafa. We've got Bobby Sue for AK, Forever in My Heart. We've got Aura. We have, of course, Catherine, Tracy, so many others. And then our awesome mods. We have at least Bobby Sue here, Wages World. We had Ilea in the house. We had Chance Paladin in the house. Jammer, of course, thank you so much for being here. All of you guys, thank you for making it to tonight's show. There's a lot to talk about. It is my belief that this next show, as far as what we're going to be talking about, everyone should be paying attention because there are some of the biggest stories we've had in a very long time, especially when we say this is kind of a Pearl Harbor event. This very well is being spoke about even by Russia as that. So if that is being said, that is something that they will respond to as if it is a Pearl Harbor event. I've talked about a Pearl Harbor happening to us, another one, a 2.0. And that's exactly what, you know, we've been expecting. To have that happen to Russia to start World War III, well, that was not on my bingo card. All right, let's get into it. Let's first bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
All right, so let's go into the next story. We're going to go over to the map here, and we are going to head over to Russia. Let's talk about the Russian bombers are burning in mass.
Yeah, so this is across multiple bases. Now, just to give you a little perspective, if you can stay on the map for a second, this location is one of the alleged locations. I think it's called, Brya or something,
Belaya.
air base. But yeah, Belaya, I can see it. Yeah, Belaya air base. But zoom out and look at how far away this is from like Ukraine. So this is being done by their security service. This is being done inside the countries. I mean, that one's pretty far away. Now, the reason this is a big deal, these attacks, it's been a coordinated effort, and we'll talk more specifically about how
Wow.
they did it. That's coming up in a later article, the details of how they pulled this off. But this is a big deal because the drones that have attacked this base and other bases have taken out a lot of the strategic aircrafts of Russia. And these are aircrafts that, while maybe they're older aircrafts, they're also their strategic ones, the ones that would be used to launch nukes and to, go after America or go after parts of Europe with longer range. And they're also not in production anymore. So when they lose a large percentage of them, that's a big deal. And as we know, Russia, while maybe in a wartime economy, it's not like they're rolling in the dough right now. They're spending everything they can, with all the sanctions. So that really means they're having to do a lot of difficult trades, and oil prices being low, they're not, really rich at the moment to just be replacing all these aircraft, and they're not even in production. So this is a major hit to Russia's air offense support. And, to Ukraine's point, they say a lot of these planes were used to attack them, but they're also the planes that would be used to carry out their larger missions around the globe.
In Zelensky's tweet, he talks about this. He says, he makes a point to say this was solely done by Ukraine, right? Do you guys believe that? Just quickly in chat, do you believe that Ukraine did this without the help of the US or NATO? Let me just throw that out there right now, and then I'll tell you what I believe. Personally, I think that the U.S. was involved or somebody else was involved. I mean, this is a massive attack. They said that this was planned for more than a year. They said year and possibly 9 months, I think, or a year and 3 months, whatever it may be. Again, we'll talk about how they did it here in a second. But again, this means that they have, many even called it right off the bat, that this would have to be pulled off also inside of Russia. So we'll go over that here in 1 second. Operation Spiderweb is what they call it, right? And there's a lot of propaganda going out right now. Operation Spiderweb, this entire thing, all of it. You have to take everything with a grain of salt, but understand how the world is accepting this information, the information that goes out, whether it is true or not. It is a kind of a massive, the ideals by all of the media across the planet to put something in these terms. That really means that you have the population of not only just the US and Europe, but the world looking at an event in a certain light. And you have, of course, the leaders of the world using that event, which they portray in a certain light, as something of a jump board, something to jump off of into a defense or securing. You'll see Britain in a little bit. Britain, of course, their whole thing is secure Britain, right? You can easily pull from what you will from that. Operation Spiderweb, how Ukraine destroyed over a third of the Russian bombers. Ukraine Security Service, or the SBU, reported on Sunday that a third of all Russian missile carriers have been hit in a coordinated drone attack aimed at different airfields. More than 40 aircraft are known to have been hit, including the A-50, Tu-95, and Tu-22 M3, causing overall damage in the price tag of about $6 billion. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said that Operation Spiderweb had made an absolutely brilliant result, which was achieved, get this, solely by Ukraine. Again, it said the Ukrainian president also shared more details on how the operations were carried out, explaining that 117 drones had been used, each with its own pilot. So that's 117 members with remote controls that are controlling 117 of these things. I'll show you a tweet here. It says, these little babies destroyed a huge chunk of the Russian plane fleet today. I want to also point out, this is something that is quite terrifying. These little babies destroyed a huge chunk of Russian plane today. These are the containers, apparently, that some of these are being stored in. They have solar panels on the very top of them. But check this out. I mean, what do you think about this? Then you see the opening of it, right? You will go to these. Okay, so this is how they're stored in mass. this is the top of the container. Those are the same solar panels. This thing opens up and then these take off. Personally, I thought this was looked really, really ghetto. But again, this isn't the U.S. military. This is Ukraine. But I was thinking about how jimmy-rigged this thing is, and it looks like containers, right? So if you look at this, think about China and their control and their massive, massive network of container ships. Man, it just makes me think, because China has been pushing forward so hard on drone technology, including releasing now a massive Hercules-type plane that is supposedly able to release 100 bigger drones that then could release even smaller drones. Very, very scary when each one of these can do a horrible amount of damage. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and the other crazy thing is, Zelensky is bragging that he thinks the most interesting thing is that they actually were in one of the territories they were in the building right next door to the FSB. He said that's how close they were and how entrenched they were. So you got to understand, all of this stuff was moved in. It's been going on for over a year, has been moved in covertly, has been moved in undercover. And then these teams of 117 plus probably people, there's probably more at the operational level, that are distributed in these different locations to pull off this attack. And the other thing he said was he got them all safely back across enemy lines before they were detected. So they were able to get them all out, is his claim. So it sounds fairly massive when you're looking at the pictures here, when you're looking at what they did, when you look at the amount that they tried to pull off in one big attack. And it's impressive, and it doesn't look good for Putin, and probably going to have a massive response back.
And some of the most widely known Russian blogs, which these are blogs that are normally pro-Putin. These are blogs that are normally sharing the stuff we absolutely know is, propaganda, bad stuff that is pro-Putin. They are the same ones that are essentially saying that Putin made a huge mistake here, that this is their, Pearl Harbor type event. You can go see a lot of these blogs. You can, some of them you have to have a VPN to access. They are really, really pissed off at Putin because this looks bad on their country. I can only imagine if 40 of our bombers were taken out all at once, that would be a pretty big deal. Now, even if folks think that this is all AI and that this is something else, again, it is being said, and that is, again, now making waves around the planet. So let's go over to Keir's Stormer. Again, this is, I'm going to play a short clip here of Keir's Stormer, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So let's see. I'm going to turn the sound on here for a second. Let me go back to this, and I'll unmute this.
Growing Russian aggression, new nuclear risks, daily cyber attacks. Growing Russian aggression in our waters, menacing our skies. Their reckless actions driving up the cost of living.
I want you guys to listen to that very end of this again. So this is the boogeyman of why you're spending more at the grocery store.
Daily cyber attacks. Growing Russian aggression in our waters, menacing our skies. Their reckless actions driving up the cost of living. New nuclear risks.
And then you see a little side fact here. The defense secretary has warned ministers that they must act decisively to face down Russian aggression. The podium here says securing Britain's future, right? What does that make you think of? It makes you think of your kids, right? Securing Britain's future. All of the families are sitting here watching this going, yeah, we have to secure our future. That made me think of my kids, right? And that's the message, that we have to do this now so later we'll be securing our future, right? This is a massive deal. Everyone is over on X talking about Keir Stormer, starting World War III, and if it is, it's going to be him. The auditor says this is a word for warmongering liar who is salivating on the prospect of conscripting anyone who is not in his ideology and sending them to be taken out so that they can be replaced by cultural enrichers. That word is traitor. This person says Russia is not the enemy. Stormer is, right? So I mean, like this is a huge deal. Hope Otto says you are such a liar, Kira Stormer. Ukraine and NATO, not Russia, hummed Russia yesterday, the day before peace talks. Are you getting hugs from Ukraine also? The new one. And it says, and yet Russia invaded another country, and yet Russia, UK residents, which bit from the history of Europe in the 1930s. Do you not understand? There are people that are for and against what he is saying here. In fact, it's one of the first times I've seen where it's like 50-50 for the first, 700 comments. Usually it's really cited in one way. There's a lot of people that support this as well, which I was kind of blown away by. All of Europe has been preparing for this, and we've shown you. If Europe is getting in a war, realize what that means for us here in the United States. Now, some of you are watching from Europe. In fact, a bigger chunk than most people would think. But again, this is something that is not only going to be just Europe. It is all lining up with the U.S. versus China. This is a world war. And China and Russia are no limits partners. China and Iran. So this peace deal with Iran, it's a bunch of BS. This is not going to happen. And if it does, I'll eat my own foot. They might even go to, say, a temporary peace, or they'll, now we can enrich. But it's going to be done in secret. Iran hates our guts. They were planning an event like 2001. At least that's what they said. And even if that's what they said, that means that somewhere down the road that there's going to be a setup event to make it look like that. They took out Soleimani. They have murals all over their country stating that these heroes will be revenged. And to this day, they have not got their revenge yet. Only on the other hand, during the last 4 years, we had so many people come in that nobody has any idea, where these people went. Thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that no one knows what their true purpose is here, especially military age males 18 to 25 from China. But that includes Iran, that includes Russia, that includes a whole lot of other countries. Nobody really talks about the amount of Russians that came in during that time period as well. Thank you, Rochelle Cooley. Don't eat your foot now, LOL. Well, no, I'll probably take a shower first. Randy Man, Nat Tate, Time Bandit Fan, thank you so much. Sherry D, Tracy Q, The Highway, thank you. And Rick Johnson, Michigan Lifestyle, Felicia Bevel, JPass, nice to see you. So yeah, and someone says, don't buy the lies. Again, I don't think anybody should buy any information at this point. But I will say this is a pattern that's held over 10 years. This is something that's been building. Whether you think that this is not going to be a fake war. This is going to be a real war with fake intentions, and a real war with fake reasons, right? And fake motivations. That's what I believe it will be. Dex, as far as, Keir Stormer and all of this, what do you think about Europe and how they're setting this up?
Oh, Europe's been itching to go to war with Russia for the longest time. Whether it's the actions they've taken or the words they've said or the red lines that Putin throws out there and they continue to cross over and over again. This is a big one. Certainly, like the day before peace talks, you do this. It's a play. It's right out of Putin's playbook because he does this too. He always likes to strike hard a day or two before any type of negotiation. But I think the big question is like, what's the response? Like, what's the response going to be? Is Putin finally going to take it beyond Ukraine, or is he just going to strike harder at Ukraine? What's he going to do? I don't know that it's tactical time because that doesn't necessarily solve any of his problems in Ukraine. It doesn't give him any advantage because their military is distributed and are decentralized. There's no real key target there outside of just creating a mess. And also that brings in NATO, right? If he does something like that, I don't know that he's ready to go and target NATO just yet, because that changes the whole game. So what is his response going to be? Is he really going to go over the line, or is it just going to be a continuation of the war? And I guess that's the question. But we've never seen a strike from Zelensky that's been significant, that hasn't had a massive, if not trying to be much stronger, response from Russia. So since this is such a massive attack, there has to be almost twice as powerful of a response from Russia. That's just his MO.
Yeah.
That's what we've seen every other time.
Yeah. How do you think Russia is going to respond to this? This This is a third of all of their bombers. Bombers that, like Dick said, are not currently being built. This is a massive, massive hit. Again, I would love to see over the next 3 days what is going to be said by both sides and see what actually happens out of it. Now, before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is our advice for as far as protecting yourself from an EMP strike. You're going to see in the next few months, especially with all of this kicking up, that there's going to be a lot of talk about electromagnetic pulse attacks. If you are not familiar with those, I would highly recommend doing your research on it. But essentially, the worry is that they could try to knock down our grid with a single blow. If we knock down our grid and everything goes out, what an EMP does is it knocks it out for good. If this happens, you can actually protect yourself with something like this. This is the same technology that agencies like DHS and DoD are using, same company that is now outfitting agencies, again, like those, and the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. So if you are in America, you are in a state that is most likely using their technology. Now, they are preparing quietly. You should be preparing loudly. Again, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You're going to help us. You're going to save $50 off per device, and that also stacks on top of their Liberty sale. Again, that could be anywhere from $20 to $200 extra dollars off on any devices you may get. So make sure to go check that out, marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. This will also protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, gas and solar, and even your home or even your ham radio against a solar event, a Carrington-level event. This will be able to protect you, and you'll be able to keep going business as usual. It's very highly unlikely that before anything happens, you're going to have time to put everything, including your home, in a Faraday bag. So marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. All right. Let's see here. Let's go into the next story, which is crash horror. Mystery as Russia was rocked by 3 train crashes in one night after bridge collapse and tracks blown up, leaving 7 perished. Dex, go ahead.
All right. So absolutely coordinated. I mean, the fact that they struck all of these bombers at the same time, and now we have these 3 major trains between the Branks region and the Kursk region, I believe it is, 2 different locations there. And they have taken down the bridges, taken down the trains. These trains are usually the ones bringing in military equipment and lots of stuff to support the conflict there. Yeah, massive, again, hit. Also, another one in Zaporizhzhia. So if you look at the map on this article, you'll see the 3 locations: Branks, Kursk, and then Zaporizhzhia, just down there by the nuclear plant, north of Crimea. So yeah, they got all of those coordinated at one time. Obviously, these are probably similar. They're, insiders doing some form of action to take down these bridges to cause the trains to derail.
And think about this. If you were in the United States or if you're in Europe and this is not only plastered all over your news, say there was a location in New York, in Idaho, and in Washington, and all 3 got hit and 3 train crashes happened, and the bridge in California just went down and train tracks. At the same time that 40 of your bombers are taken out by an attack by Ukraine or anybody, right? I could imagine that the people there are, even if it was all propaganda, even if it's all AI video, heck, even if it's all straight up fake, people are going to have a certain type of reaction. People are going to be calling for war. And the thing is it's not they're going to be, they already are. And a lot of these are, there is a ton of media pundits and regular people, bloggers, independent journalists from Russia that are calling on him to do something more. There's even talk of nuclear weapons being used. Now, I highly doubt that will happen, but I do believe in our lifetime we will see a tactical nuke. We might even see it soon. We'll see a single one, and again, we know this because look at what they're preparing for. Look at what the insurance companies asked the FAA and the plane companies to do. They're trying to figure out a plan because the only plan they have for planes across the planet is if there is any nuke, even a tactical nuke that goes off, say in Ukraine or in Mumbai. It doesn't matter where it goes off. All of the planes across the planet, millions of planes, It is a highway. It's insane how much is in our skies at one time. They all have to land if a single nuke goes off. They are trying to change that. They're trying to rewrite their rules. Now, when you looked at places like California cutting off all of these people and saying, yeah, we don't actually know, we no longer provide insurance for your area. You see that because it's their job to know the future. They're not going to insure an area that is on a cliff, that has had 4, mudslides in the last year. They're just going to say, no, there's probably going to be a 5th, right? Well, the same thing here. These people are, their whole job is to tell the future. And now you see the insurance companies with any kind of big corporations across the planet, and with a lot of these manufacturers, they are all also putting very, very clear signs that something massive is about to happen. They're rewriting rules, and again, a lot more stuff is coming out. There are Fugel family members that are in the insurance company that can not come out yet, but they are about to, and they're about to go on their own channels and actually talk about this. There are big moves being made, like I talked about with those companies, and on that video we just did over on Marfoogle News, some of Britain's biggest companies and some of the U.S.'s biggest companies are preparing for what is clearly going to be a massive, massive event. A war with not only China, a war with Russia, a war with Iran, a war with with Africa, a war with Venezuela, a war with Cuba. The war with North Korea, we could go on and on and on. They're going to split up our troops, and they're going to use that to their advantage. That's just my theory. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. All right. And then thank you again, Saren. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you, Escape the Matrix. Thank you for subscribing. Cage Crow, thank you for subscribing. And I hope at some point when all of this goes down, again, I don't think it's going to be a world-ending event. I think that we're all going to be very cognizant for this. I think that people will thank themselves for, getting their stuff prepped, getting food and water and all sorts of other things lined up now instead of waiting for some event. Putin urged to use nuclear weapons as Russians furious at this Ukraine Pearl Harbor attack. Dex, exactly what I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, so a lot of them are considering it their version of Pearl Harbor. It's a big deal. It really is. At least it's being painted that way in the minds of the people. So what that calls for is a lot of people saying, hey, based on the nuclear doctrine, if we're significantly attacked in any of our, their strategic defense capabilities was one of those areas, and this would be one of them, those planes, then they have a right to use their nukes. And especially, they've also said if they think that any of the events that are the country that does it is being supported by another nuclear country, that also gives them a right to use their nukes. So the real question is, though, what's the advantage of using it? Because absolutely using it will escalate. I don't know that it will necessarily solve, if it's a tactical, it's not going to solve it's not going to give them great ground. They're not going to all of a sudden claim a whole bunch of territory in Ukraine just because they use a tactical. I think maybe we'll see a test of one. Maybe if they were to do one, they could do one in the Black Sea or something, where it would have less effect on population and land. I mean, ultimately, Putin has said that what they're doing is to grab land, and if they drop a tactical in there, they can't grab that land for a long time. It's going to be contaminated. Maybe less contaminated if they airburst it, but then it's less effective than a ground burst. So, but even a ground burst is still going to be decades before they can ever, be able to use or control that territory that they use it in. So, the risks are huge. They run the risk of contaminating not just the location, but they contaminate Belarus. They can obviously contaminate Europe, and they can contaminate themselves if they do it. So it's got to be a really big deal. And they got to really, be up against the wall and say it's our last resort, in my opinion, for them to do it. But the population, the bloggers, the talking heads, the figures are all saying, hey, this is the time. This is when we should. Look, they've crossed the line. They've attacked our strategic defense. Now we should respond using nuclear weapons. And I think that's a big, big, big step if it's going to happen.
There's also a witch hunt going on because this happened with people that were inside their country across 3 time zones. If this went down as they said it was, that means there were essentially their soldiers inside of Russia across 3 different time zones that were controlling these things. That's the only way it's possible, unless they're lying, which, again, a lot of this could be total BS. But if this is what they're saying, they could also be setting up an event where they say Russia does this massive event. Imagine this, Russia does nothing, but a tactical nuke goes off in one of the Ukrainian cities. And immediately, who would you blame? I mean, it's pretty clear. You would say, well, we just took out 40 of their bombers. And now a tactical nuke goes off in, said this place, right? Or even a Moab or a FOAB, a massive explosion. And in that explosion, possible civilians or something like that. That could be something that we could see. So with this, this is the massive moves we knew were coming. I mean, whether this is Ganda or whether it is truth, which I guarantee, even if it was closer to truth, there's going to be Ganda mixed in. This is something that where you see the patterns. Anybody with common sense right now has a gut feeling that this is about to go south. Wages World says, thanks for having our back. You and Dex always kill it. Well, thank you, Wages. And no, I was going to respond to your text. I have not used those features yet. Thank you, Wages, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Again, make sure to heart that. And Rochelle, thank you again. I appreciate all of our mods. Again, you can go check out at marfooglenews.com/friends. You've got a lot of really, really awesome people down there. So make sure to utilize this list because you also have, if you have any time to kill, go check out the friends list and all of the mods channels. Wages is about to hit 62,000 subscribers. So go give them some love. All right. And Lisa R. Hall, wherever you are, that's crazy. You hit 999. I think you might have lost one person. So one person, go back to Lisa's so she can say 1,000. In fact, if you do it during the show, I will show this at the end. We'll be able to change that to 1,000. All right. And then we have Kremlin prepared for an all-out conflict with NATO. So this is on another side. And a lot more respect, say something like Zero Hedge than they do CNN. But again, this is a great piece. The hawkish Washington, D.C.-based think tank, the Institute for Study of War, had just prior to Ukraine's Sunday shock drone operation, which reportedly took out some 40 military aircraft deep inside of Russian territory, issued a report saying that President Vladimir Putin is prepared for war with NATO if things escalate to that point. Now, this is, again, right before. A May 30 decree issued by Putin concerning the Russian defense industry base would enable the government to legally take over military contractor firms if they do not abide by wartime martial law orders. It says, quote, Putin is likely setting legal conditions to allow the Russian government to commandeer elements of the Russia's economy and DIB should that the Kremlin introduce full martial law in order to transition the country to a full wartime footing. The ISW wrote on understandingwar.org. ISW continues to assess that the Kremlin is preparing Russian society and economy for a protracted war in Ukraine, indicating that Russia is not interested in engaging in good faith negotiations to reach a diplomatic settlement to its war in Ukraine. Certainly, Sunday just brought the world a big step closer to witnessing a potential all-out war with Eastern Europe, given that the Zelensky-ordered drone swarm attacks are already being called Russia's Pearl Harbor. It says the Kremlin is continuing efforts, quote, to prepare Russian society and Russian defense industry base, the DIB, for a protracted war with Ukraine and potential future war with NATO, ISW concluded. Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree on May 30th allowing the Russian government to revoke the rights of shareholders of defense industrial enterprises in the event that the enterprise fails to fulfill state defense orders during martial law. The decree enables the Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade to appoint a management company to act as the sole executive body of the enterprise in order to fulfill contractual obligations. This is the fine print. This is the contracts. This is the things. These are the things that they have to do. These are the, they're doing all of the necessary footwork to start a war. They are literally doing the paperwork before a war. This is something we called out when they were doing the drills on the border exactly a year before, when they left all of the physical stuff there, when they left artillery, when they left mobile hospitals set up on the border of Ukraine. We said that they are coming back, that they did that. We knew that they were going to go into Ukraine. And it's crazy because when they did it exactly a year later, it's like nobody believed it. I don't know if you remember this, but for the first month of this conflict, nobody even believed it. Think about how good the media and how much has to go into that, and how much bad information has to be put out, where for a month, nobody even believed that Russia went into Ukraine. I mean, it was really quite something. So when they start signing documents and start putting things in like this and getting the legal things, put into order, this is a clear sign. But this is something that our community has been calling out for a very long time. And now there's actual things like this where you have the experts, the supposed, think tank saying, yeah, it looks like they're actually preparing for a war with NATO. Well, no. Dex, what did you think when you saw this?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's where they wanted to go. We've been calling this for a long time, and it's not just us. Like, everybody in our community has been talking about the build up to Europe's war. So they want this. They've been deploying, anti-tank measures, putting troops on the border, adding more countries into NATO. Step by step, digging trenches throughout Romania. They know it's coming. They want it. They've been preaching about it. They've been preparing their people with all the drills, creating the bunkers and the shelters. I mean, come on, the writing's on the wall here.
Great comment by Samuel Turner. Says weather in Taiwan Straits in 3 more days will change for good weather for China to invade. Russia may wait for China to move. Samuel, I actually believe we might even see a staggered event where you have something pretty big start where we're going to need to move all of, carriers and things into place. And then all of a sudden you'll have a secondary event that will happen that will then say, okay, well, we actually need to respond to this. And then a third event will happen and they'll say, okay, we need to get people in here. And then a fourth event, because this is multiple countries involved. This is what my gut tells me is going to happen, is that there's going to be events that pop off one after another, and we're going to have a crazy week or 2 weeks or a month of just one huge event after huge event after huge event that ends up having our military have to respond and then separate all of our military. And once that happens, you would think the geniuses that are running our planet and the geniuses that are running our military would know, hey, they're trying to separate us out. Well, the thing is I already see that Pete Hegseth is making comments as if they already see that is going to be their plan. That's why they're saying, hey, Europe, you got to spend more. You got to deal with Russia because we're going to be dealing with China. But you're going to see the world's military is preparing for an all-out war. Oh, wait, they already are. They're not only doing drills, now you have even countries like Japan that are jumping in. You have a very, very strong presence of the Trilateral Alliance over here, and then you have a very, very strong presence of NATO all along the border that is all picking up that the locals there are saying that they've never seen anything like this in their life. So yeah, Samuel Turner, great comment. I think it will actually be, I don't think they'll wait for Russia. In my opinion, I think that something will happen, then it will go boom, 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 and it will separate our forces. But you may be right. All right, and then Mohammed Sabri Solomon, what we know about illegal immigrant accused in this attack. Now, Ilea sent me this like as it was happening, and it was right afterwards, and there was like 3 videos that were put out, and it was so wild because all these people are like helping the injured, and the guy's like just walking around with his shirt off with holding a couple bottles, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm like, why is nobody looking at this guy? This was such an off-the-wall event, and if you don't know, they were Molotovs, and it was a very, very disturbing event. Again, the whole thing is just wild. Dex, how did you hear about this? I heard about this as it was going on, and it just nobody knew anything.
Yeah, I heard about it a little later. I think I saw it on Twitter, but or on X. But I also read something else. He had his own makeshift version of a flamethrower too. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that, but then I didn't see if that was confirmed or not. In the very first place, they said that at least 6 people were, currently in flame. And then later on, they ended up talking about how he was pro this country and against this. And it just got confused. It went back and forth. The media didn't know what to report at first. So they started reporting back and forth things. So it was really, really, really odd. Now, a lot of people are calling this some sort of Fantastic Freddy event. I don't know. It's kind of strange after the DC event last week, and a lot of folks are thinking that they're trying to get something popping off, that they are really trying to ignite people and get them pissed off. Dex, I mean, think about it in that context about the event that just happened with the guy that took out the couple.
Well, yeah, certainly. And just the fact that they're now, and as a lot of the headlines are screaming, that the person was not in our country legally, that, aids another advantage too, for a narrative. And apparently that's supposed to be ramped up because there was a shakeup at ICE. So, to some extent, this may, create more support for that initiative, right?
Wait, what if this was a sleeper cell? They said that he entered during the last 4 years, right? They said that his name is Solomon, Egyptian national who overstayed his visa after entering the U.S. during the JB administration, right? So do you see what's being painted here? Do you see it, even if this is all operation, whatever it may be, or if it's just some crazy guy, the picture that's being painted awfully, it closely makes me think of that Sean Ryan show with that woman, right? This wouldn't be 1,000 people coordinated. This would be one. And like they're setting the stage for something. They're setting the stage for something horrid. So I hope that that is not the case. A T attack was committed in Boulder, Colorado by an alien, right? So, and he was yelling certain phrases to free Palestine during the attack, which near the country courthouse of Pearl Street, police responded to the area. And he's sitting there, sitting there for everybody to take pictures. I mean, it just doesn't seem right. The whole thing seems so off. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. This is a service that we recommend, especially for those of you that do not have antibiotics on hand. Most of you don't. I'm guessing it's in the 99% that don't. And that's crazy because this is something that China mainly makes. In fact, 90% of all antibiotics are made in China. And that's terrifying. It's stupid. It's dumb. But also 97% of all active pharmaceutical ingredients are made there for those antibiotics. So it's something that if we do go to war, you will not see right away. You'll see the results of that happen instantly. It's crazy. Of course, our president says he's going to bring manufacturing back and try to start doing some of this stuff. But I think it's a little bit too late. If you want to get yourself a kit of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics all in a kit, and do it the legal and legit way, this is how you do it. It's a quick telehealth appointment that you do from the comfort of your couch. You can do it on a cell phone, a tablet, or on your computer, and talk to a board-certified doctor and get this kit sent to your door discreetly. Not only that, you can add things in like albuterol or others. You say, hey, doc, we've got an asthmatic in the house. We need a albuterol inhaler. Then boom, you go to the add-on list. If it's on there, most likely you can get it in that kit as well. Antibiotics could, again, keep that cut on your finger, just a cut on your finger, rather than a funeral. It's crazy what we really have, in this world and all of the different things that could happen from the tiniest event, especially around your health. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use the code MARF. Not only are you going to save money on that, but you are also going to help a very independent channel. We do all of our own stuff. And again, all of these affiliates, as much as people don't like ads, they are all things that we actually believe in. We don't rotate things out 50 different things a day or week. Nobody's vying for our spots and just putting in keto diets or whatever it may be. These are all items that we believe will save your life or make your life easier in the event of a disaster or any kind of event. marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use the code MARF. All right. And then Britain's biggest companies are preparing for a third world war. Essentially, all of these companies, and I was telling you this weeks before any mainstream media was talking about this, I told you about Hasbro and Mattel and some of these big toy companies that you have to understand. Two companies make a majority of the world's toys, right? And a lot of us have kids. And of course, all of us were kids at some point. In fact, every one of you was a kid at some point, and every one of you had toys, no matter how little or how many you had. So it is pretty crazy that, of course, Hasbro, Mattel, and companies like this are stating, by the end of the year, we'll have 70% of our production moved elsewhere other than China. You don't do that because of a temporary tariff. You don't do that because you think the tariffs are going to last forever. You do that because you believe that there is going to be a permanent situation change with that country. Otherwise, you don't spend billions and billions of dollars to move these things out, to build them somewhere else where the logistics, nothing is set up yet, unless you got a heads up from up above that something is about to change. And that is exactly what I think has happened. Again, they say the year is 2027 and a major global conflict has erupted. Perhaps China has launched an attempted invasion of Taiwan, or Russian forces have crossed into the territory of Eastern European NATO country. Mind you, both of those things are being talked about happening simultaneously right now. Whatever the case, Justin Cramp's job is to advise big companies on how to respond with tensions rising. A growing number of chief executives have got him on speed dial. The former armor tank commander, who now runs intelligence and security consultancy, Sibylline, says his clients range from top British supermarket chains to Silicon Valley technology giants. They are all drawing up plans to keep running during wartime, and Crump is surprisingly blunt about their reasoning. A global conflict may be just 2 years away. We're in a world which is more dangerous, more volatile than anything we've seen since the Second World War, he explains. There are lots of crises that can happen that are ready to go. Chief executives want to test against the worst scenario because they think it's credible. They want to make sure that the businesses can get through that environment. Now, for years, myself and many others have been telling people that, hey, get ready for war. And they go, oh, well, I might, people aren't going to look at me and go, that's incredibly, this is the most credible thing. We're going to do this and we're going to do it now. People haven't. Even though now you actually have the folks that are coming out and saying it. Now, finally, people are going to believe it. It's kind of like what I said 5 years ago. I said, if there was a general that was at a barbecue, and this general was in full, fatigues, full outfit, medals on his chest. And if he said, I believe everybody should be getting prepped. You should have a go bag right by your door. People would immediately go, whoa, wait, why? If somebody like him says it, they'll go, oh, yeah, and they will go home and they will buy prep. But if a regular person tells you, we are so trained not to believe anything that we won't. But now you can see that this is clearly the path that we are on. And I don't believe that, I don't believe that this is going away. If that general could have came out 5 years ago, I think that a lot more of us would have been in a better place. Now, of course, this Army tank commander, I bet you if he secretly told you, pulled you aside at a barbecue, I bet you all of the people that they told would go out and get food and water and supplies. It really, it puts it higher up on a priority. And again, I don't blame people because why believe some YouTube channel? But I do believe that, with this going on right now, I think that there's a lot of you that didn't need me to say anything, didn't need anybody to say anything, that this is happening. It's just your logical brain is saying, no, they can't do this. Why would they do this? They wouldn't do this. But they will, and they are going to. That's my opinion. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Dale Val, what confuses me, he planned a year, Marf, but couldn't pick a shirt that morning. Very good point. And then why can't we, the people, the world, stand up and say, no, we won't fight in the wars. You elites want us to fight to fulfill your corrupt agendas. We want peace and we won't fight. All things random. Again, I hope that people stand up to what's going on, but at some point, it's like, this is global. And you're going to have some serious coordination issues trying to get the whole world on the same page, especially when all media and info is controlled. Dex, when you've got executives giving these guys the heads up, these are all the biggest British companies, some of the huge chains. They are essentially saying they believe this is a credible threat, that war is about to happen. They're now preparing. I mean,
Wall Street always knows, right? Wall Street knows. Now, this is a story coming out of UK, written from their perspective with their businesses, but I guarantee you it's the same thing happening here. This is not just, everybody in London is worried about World War III. This is across the globe, and specifically these big companies, these Wall Streeters, these large corporations, they know what they need to be prepared for. And so, the writing's on the wall. Look, if you just take China, for example, if China's going to take Taiwan, when is the best time for them to do it? The best time for them to do it is when America's at its weakest. When are we at our weakest? When we've given away all of our military and spent all of our money on Europe. And Russia has had us over there just piling in money, piling in equipment, giving up as much military gear as we can. And now we're in the point where we have to rebuild it. Well, the time is right. Now is the time. Because if you wait 4 years or 5 years, we'll be rebuilt. If you wait 10 years, we're going to be rebuilt. We'll be stronger. So the time is ripe for China. Any day, like from now to the next 2 years, is their opportunistic time. You've got all of the other things that are happening in the Middle East. You've got obviously what's going on in Europe alone by itself is huge, but even the instability of the Middle East, and you've got the instability of even our own leadership. And when I say that, I don't mean him being unstable, but just the polarization in America. Like, there's not a unification around Americans around anything. We're so divided as much as the world is divided. So everything is very much unstable. Everything is ripe for conflict. That's why Russia's taking advantage of it. That's why the Middle East is in turmoil, and Israel's trying to take advantage of an opportunity to take Iran down. And you've got, obviously China saying, when is our best time to take Taiwan? Because they're going to do it. They've already said it. It's not a question of if, it's when. It's when. And the best time is when the enemy is at its weakest. And that's probably today. We're probably building back slowly with the money we're trying to get and invest back into our military to replace what we've spent for the last 4+ years on European wars.
I also talked about, like Dick said, Wall Street always knows, right? All of a sudden, in one day, it was on the 28th of March, right? All these people ended up going and getting gold. And we're not just talking about people. We're talking about countries. We're talking about such a huge amount that it was absolutely unmistakably absurd. Again, the metals people, the people that follow this, this was just a typical one. Whoa, this can't be right. This can't possibly correct. Could it? No way. This has to be a misprint by this at CME. Has to be, right? Right? Because if you look at what actually got bought, I mean, you had 44,000 or 45,000 contracts bought up, and a giant movement of 580 tons of gold in just a few hours. That's like, hey, we just got the email. We'll do what you say. That's a heads up. This was not for just the tariffs. This was something so massive that you can't explain it. This is countries preparing for a future war. This is companies preparing for a future war. The companies are now moving. They are saying that they're getting out of these war countries. So this isn't something that's going away. The big elites, they all knew. And they all know what's going to happen. And people are still arguing back and forth. Well, we don't think it's going to happen. The thing is when it's the people that are saying it, when you see World War III trending over the last 6 years, it's usually when events happen and everybody gets really pumped up about it. Because if some big event that is an event that could trigger a World War III, but usually doesn't because calmer heads prevail. But when you see corporations saying World War III, when it's trending in corporations that World War III is happening, that's when you know. It's not when it's trending on X. It's when it's trending on the back end in emails to corporations. That's when you got to pay attention. And that just happened. Stephen McMahon says, I've read several places that the weather only allows Xi to attack Taiwan in May or October. Well, they also very well could be looking at next year in 2026. But I believe that they're not going to wait until 2027 or closer to when this thing is finished with the Golden Dome. So I hope not, Stephen McMahon. But I would not be surprised if something popped off now. But I believe it will most likely happen next year, or if it's a timed thing, then it would be May of 2027. But who knows? Honestly, it's looking a whole lot like it's going south right now. Dex, God, just so much craziness in the last 3 months. It's unbelievable. Thank you for your service today. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Much love, brother. Great job.
All right, you guys, make sure to share this and our Marfoogle News Short, especially for today, out. I hope that people are getting prepared for anything. It doesn't have to be a world-ending event. It could be a storm, an earthquake. You should just have extra stuff. If you are the matriarch or the patriarch of your family, then make sure to have yourself prepared. If we do lose power or internet, remember you can always download a lot of things onto a device and then protect that device with a Faraday bag. Again, we do have one of the affiliates that we've had for a while. That's on the website. Go check that out. But otherwise, you can also make your own Faraday cage for certain devices if you want them to keep running. So make sure to go check that out as well. I'd highly recommend keeping your devices with downloaded information, those in a Faraday bag, especially if there's any strife or if you have a gut feeling, put it in that bag. All right, and if your power goes out, check your car and, of course, check your phone and have a plan for when it happens. Because a lot of people will sit there, if you're not having, some sort of plan or movement within the first day, you're going to be screwed. Some say within the first 3 hours, if you don't have what you are going to be doing fleshed out, then you are going to be screwed. Have a good day. Be safe. Be prepared. Love all of you. Thank you so much for our supporters tonight. Thank you for our top supporter, Samuel Turner. Thank you, Rochelle Cooley, Wages World, Dale Val, All Things Random, and Stephen McMahon. Have a beautiful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. If you would like to see the Marfoogle News Short, just look for this thumbnail, emergency broadcast. It's about to hit the fan. That's over on Marfoogle News. Join us for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.
Under the golden dome, wonder the flag above you. Is it the same one you think you wonder? I said I wonder the flag above you. Is it the same one you think you wonder? I said I wonder.